Okay. Hello. Welcome to the first podcast. I'm doing this in OBS, the same software that I do whenever I stream. I gotta say, I might switch up the avatar because it's very weird to see my avatar's mouth not open whenever I speak. That's fine for now. We'll just run with it. First off, let me start by disclaiming that I am not a professional crochet person. I just started to crochet in June 2022. I also have to add another apology because it is currently raining. So if you can hear any of that, I am sorry. But that is the reality of living in the Pacific Northwest. It rains, and it just so happens to be November. So rain it is. It's been raining all day. So, first off, this is a podcast that I am going to try and focus around amigurumi and crochet and kind of about my journey and how I started. And hopefully, I will have any sort of things that I've learned over the past year and moving forward. And I will hopefully have some reviews of yarn. I'm looking forward to buying at least 2 or 3 more company yarn that's like expensive yarn. Somewhat expensive yarn, more expensive than what I'm used to. I'm going to be buying that in December, January. I might wait until after the holidays because I don't want it to get lost with everyone else buying their Christmas stuff, especially one that is going to come from Canada. So I probably will wait on that one until January or February. But this is the first one. And so the first one I have already typed up and put as a blog post on my blog. I don't really use the blog too often. I used it a lot more when I was in college and I was more actively reviewing books that I was reading and excuse me, and manga and things like that. And so that's what the blog started as, was manga reviews and some book reviews of nonfiction and fiction that I was reading at the time, and kind of like my first impressions. I was also doing anime reviews, small reviews and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's what the backlog information on that blog is, but I will start posting things about amigurumi. Most recently in the last year, I've been posting some reviews, like whenever I did the demo for Silent Hope, whenever I did the demo for Pikmin 3, the Lies of P, and I know that I also reviewed the Dragon Quest game. That review is also on there. I know I did that. Sorry. I know that I also did Chrono Cross. There's a review for that on there too. So I have been trying to use it more frequently. And I kind of haven't decided what I want the blog to be. I was thinking, okay, let's just go ahead and continue to attach it to my Twitch and do game reviews. But honestly, I have spent so much time crocheting that I haven't had time to actually play through and finish a game and then properly review it, because I want to get to the credit roll to do a review, not just like, hey, here's my first 3 hours of playing a game. Everyone does those kind of reviews. I don't think it's fair. So welcome. If you don't know me, my name is Lancetti, and I am located in the Pacific Northwest, and I just started learning to crochet in June last year, 2022, because I kind of got bored. I didn't have a whole lot else to do. I was not really wanting to paint. I not really wanted to get there's a few stuffed animals that I want and that I wanted to make, and I still have not made, but that I wanted to make, and I was getting really annoyed at trying to make the pattern correctly and the geometry for it, and it wasn't turning out how I wanted. And the only way to get what I really wanted was to either order out from another country, another artist, or custom order the fabric. And then even then I was like, okay, but then I have to make sure the custom fabric is exactly what I want, and that's trial and error and R&D that I didn't want to put energy into. So I was like, hey, I kind of know how to crochet. I learned how to do chains and single crochets when I was about 12 or so. Didn't do it very long. I think I did it for all of like 3 days. I did not catch on It didn't, the bug did not hit me. I wasn't interested in it. So I just moved on. So let's go ahead and go through this. I will basically be reading the exact article that is on the blog. So if you would like to read it instead of listening to me trip over my words, which I will try not to do, go ahead and do so. This is also good for me to try and practice speaking. I speak a whole lot during my Twitch streams, and then obviously I speak a lot whenever I'm at my craft shows. But being a homebody, self-employed business person for the last several months, I have not used my vocal cords a whole lot, and I can feel it, especially whenever I talk too fast. I've noticed whenever I listen back to my streams. So I'm going to try and slow down and talk a bit slower and take a little bit more time to actually enunciate my words. Here we go. So, wool yarns for amigurumi. Now, let me preface this with I am not the first person to do wool yarn for amigurumi. There is no way I'm the first person to think of this or to have to do this. However, I tend to find that there's not a whole lot of reviews for wool yarn for amigurumi specifically, and I felt that I wanted to share whatever information I have so that anyone else coming after me, if they want to do amigurumi and they are finding the exact same problems that I have found in the last year, this is how going to hopefully be helpful to them. Yeah, so I'll be adding information and reviews on wool yarn, both 100% both 100% and blends. There we go. That I've used for amigurumi toys. That's, they're toys. I'll be as transparent as possible about the prices and locations I buy these yarns from, as well as including all information for you to buy the same yarn for yourself in the future. So I will not just be linking to yarnsub.com. I will be linking directly to the store as well for the information so that if you want to go buy it, you can. This is where I got mine from. If you want to buy it from another store, that is totally fine. I will not, I'm sure I won't, have any kind of affiliations with any of these shops. It's just this is where I happen to find it at the best price that works for me personally. So the very short version of the story of why I use wool over synthetics or cotton is my body does not like it. Period. My body does not like it. What does that mean? This means, in the most plain of terms, my body actively cannot use synthetics or cotton because they cause damage to my body in one or more ways. Cotton is a plant-based fiber, and its strength and rigidity is a fantastic utility. However, due to its natural properties, it has no stretch. If you think about it, if you have stretch in something, that means it's going to degrade faster over time. Picture a garden hose that stretches and imagine it getting cooked in the sunshine all summer. And by the end of the season, it's cracked and damaged and has leaks. And it has lost any structural integrity it has. Synthetics are often some kind of plastic, polyester, acrylic, nylon, and these are made with varying degrees of rigidity and stretch. Nylon is the only fiber I'd be able to use, but its percentage profile being included in the yarn needs to be a high enough amount for it to actually make a physical, feelable difference. So the long answer is, since I started my crochet journey, again, in June 2022, I started with the idea of quality and stability. So I started with cotton yarns. And it didn't matter if I was using a cheaper quality or a quality cotton yarn, higher quality cotton yarn. Cotton is cotton is cotton. It has no stretch because it is a plant. It is a cellulose fiber designed to keep a plant upright and stable. As I started just lightly, casually looking into the pain I was starting to feel in my elbow and tendon, stretching to my outer wrist, I was finding that it's actually very common for cotton to be hard on the hands. And that if you have any kind of pre existing joint pain, for cotton yarns to cause more damage. Now, I have several choices moving forward if I want to work with cotton. I can use it only in blended yarns. I can use it in 100% cotton yarn, or I can just not use it. I have deemed it not worthy to even purchase and have it in my work environment. I would have to carefully label it so I wouldn't forget that it's cotton and be aware of it each and every time I wanted to work with it. And frankly, that just isn't fun. It isn't relaxing. It isn't enjoyable. I could maybe work with it for 5-10 minutes at a time, but what's the point? I could never get anything done with a project going along in a snail's pace just to use cotton yarns. Moving into the next problem category is the synthetics: polyester, acrylic, and nylon. There are others, but those are most common names that I've seen on the yarn labels. So first off, all three are essentially a kind of plastic, and I don't think that that's a great thing for the environment. Even recycled yarns, from what I've studied briefly, tend to be mixed to be sturdier and more rigid, which means that they'll behave closer to cotton yarns. Also, because they're plastic, they will last forever and wash easily, which is great for garments and toys going to kids and toddlers and dogs and cats, and you get my drift. Excuse me. Amigurumi by nature is a decoration that is adored more than it is played with. You wouldn't actively play with a $200 6-inch anime figure out in the mud pretending it's a spaceman or something fighting aliens. You could, but you'd very quickly damage the toy. I don't know. Maybe you don't mind because you think toys should be played with, which I agree, but largely amigurumi customers are looking for keepsakes. They are looking for desk pets. They're looking for a toy to add to their bed or sofa or mantle or bookshelf. I have seen a few mentions here and there about how acrylic or synthetic yarns hold their shape after being finished as amigurumi. And honestly, I haven't seen that they've been any better than the wool toys that I've made. So elaborating here, which I should probably add to in my post, what I'm talking about is that if you make a toy like a bunny, so it has a round head and you've stuffed it, the idea is that if it is a synthetic yarn, it will hold that ball shape longer over time. Whereas if it's wool, it's just going to collapse in on itself. And what I have seen is that the yarn doesn't make the difference. The method of stuffing, the kind of stuffing, and if you overstuffed or understuffed your toy. That's what I've seen make the difference, not the yarn itself being used to do the toy. Now, the only one in this category that I could somewhat work with is nylon, because that fiber is stretchy. It is often not alone and is mixed in with other materials: cotton, bamboo, wool. This would make those materials, especially cotton, more accessible to me. However, a fully polyester or acrylic blend that is absent of nylon or any natural stretch in its twist will result in pain in my tendons all the way to my elbow. Okay. How bad did the pain get? Pretty bad. I was to the point where I couldn't do normal activities like holding groceries, holding them in bags, moving a carton of milk from the fridge to the counter. I was starting to wonder if I needed physical therapy, and by chance, I just came across YouTube videos of people who crochet who were talking about their pain leading to actual damage of their arms from crochet because they didn't listen to their bodies. I've always been someone who's very aware of my body's messages and signals in a way that is different from someone else. A pain signal to me might be an ache or a stab or a twist. And I've been very good at pointing out where the pain was. When I was younger and I had menstrual cramps all the time, there was no point to me taking anti inflammatory medicine because it didn't address the root cause of the pain for me, which felt like the marrow of my bones being in pain, especially in my thighs. Muscle pain is a very different feeling to me. I don't know why, but I can isolate where the pain or ache is, where the source is, and it's not something I've ever heard anyone else really talk about. Even when other people would complain about their pains, I would describe mine entirely differently. Back pain would be muscle pain, or a spine pain, or a nerve, usually a nerve being pinched. And I would describe how the pain progressed and radiated. And other people were just not as aware of that kind of information their body was giving them. Maybe they aren't getting the same signals, or maybe my brain is getting too many. But because of this large amount of knowledge of how my body feels and interprets pain, I knew immediately that this was new and it happened from crochet. As I isolated it down, I realized it was cotton yarns. I spent most of December 2022 and the next few months getting rid of any cotton yarn I had on hand, either selling it or donating it off somewhere. I just couldn't return it to the store. I tracked the time that I crochet in a fantastic app called Forest. I highly recommend it. I can see on there very specifically when I started to crochet versus recording other things. And since at least November 2022, it has been recording exclusively crochet time. So looking back through the data points is very valuable to me. I can see in November 2022 that I had 2,297 minutes of crochet time, with the bulk of it increasing in December. Then we look at January 2023, and while the time there is still more than December 2022, it drops sharply in February to less than what November had been. What had happened? I had realized that yes, can confirm, cotton must be out. And I was starting to suspect synthetics too, but I wasn't convinced yet. March 2023 saw the largest bump of time doing crochet, hitting about 5,000 minutes for the month. And then, once again, it steadily declined in April, May, and June. Pain had happened again. Not as bad as with the cotton, but it was back and it wasn't going away. I had bought an elbow brace, like for tennis elbow by this point, and it was helping to wear it and not crochet. So the tendon doesn't move and the body can repair the damage that had been done. But I had realized in June that synthetics were also out. I was a year into crochet, and already the two most affordable options were out the door for me. As I started to look more seriously into wool as a staple yarn for amigurumi, I noticed several things. One, that the internet hadn't really caught on, and because of that, most creators were using very chunky acrylic yarn. They're either doing that or they're doing DK weight, like really tiny, tiny, tiny yarn. I decided when I started to crochet in June 2022 that I'd hold myself to two rules. Regardless of what would happen on my journey, these would never change. First rule: all yarn must be worsted or are on weight. That's 4 medium. Second rule: the hook will be 3.5 millimeters. Now, I have moved down to a 2.75 millimeter hook, but I have a 3.5 and I use it often when I want a slightly larger toy. But by placing these two limitations from the outset, it immediately gave me easy tools to limit my searches online. If someone recommended a yarn to me and it wasn't worsted, I politely told them, no, thank you. If someone recommended a pattern to me and said I needed to use a DK weight yarn, I would disregard that and just use worsted. All I had to do from June 2023 onward was starting to look for wool yarn that would not cause actual damage to my body. I had already found 2 worsted weight yarns from 2 different companies, and I will be outlining them in the future. Don't worry, that's going to happen. To anyone starting your crochet or amigurumi journey, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. If you want to use larger yarn and aren't getting the stitches as tight as you would like, go down in hook size. If you're using a smaller yarn and it's still got gaps, go down in hook size. Is that correct? That's what I wrote. But now I'm sitting here staring at it and be like, shouldn't it be go up? Did I just say the same thing twice in 2 different ways? If you are using larger yarn, and it's not, I said the exact same thing twice. I know what I meant. So if I know what I meant to say, but I did not write what I meant to say. If you are using a larger yarn, any yarn, and it has gaps, and you want it to be tighter and more compact, go down in hook size. That way you're using the same yarn, you're just changing your hook size. Alternatively, if you are using a hook size and it's coming out too tight and your tension is off, try going up in yarn weight, because that will force you to have different tension with that hook. I know what I meant. I did not write what I meant. So, making adorable stuffed animals as toys should not be painful. It should not hurt. It should be relaxing and enjoyable. You should be free to let your creative mind wander as it pleases. The start of my crochet journey, the first year, was marred with pain and troubleshooting to fix the pain. Thankfully, I listened to my body and I stopped when it became too painful. And I do not have lasting damage. I do manage my time with crochet, and I spend time being mindfully aware to take breaks and rest my hands. Even if you are making things for a craft fair to sell, you will not be making them very long if it is too painful, and then one day you're unable to crochet at all. Keep in mind, it is not an art that can be copied by machines. You will have lost the actual motor skills, potentially even more, holding pens, papers, dishware, cups, so much more. As Elise from Elise Rose Crochet on YouTube said in one of her videos, pain is information. All you have to do is listen. Okay, guys, thank you for listening to the very first podcast of this, I don't even know what to call it, crochet journey, wool crochet journey. I will be following up with several posts about the wool yarn that I do use. I'm not really going to review any of the synthetics. I do have one synthetic that I use, and I might be phasing that out. I haven't quite decided, but I do have one synthetic that I use. It's only for I make crochet whales, and they have a flat belly. And the synthetic is for the flat belly, because it is, when you're picking up the toy and you run your thumbs over the belly as it's between your 2 hands, it is so soft. So soft. I can easily replace that with wool, but it's not the main part of the toy that you see. It's the main part that you interact with. And honestly, I don't touch that yarn a whole lot in terms of closing up the whales, putting the stomach on and closing them up and stuffing them. So that is going to be more troubleshooting going forward, because before now, all of my whales have been synthetic. And then in the last month, I decided, nope, no synthetics. So I'm getting rid of all of my synthetics. I think I have a little bit left that I'm going through it. I'm finishing it off. And if I get down to these little tiny balls, I'm just going to send them off to like Goodwill or something. I don't know. There's no point to keeping very small balls of yarn, synthetic yarn, that I know I'm not going to use. So I'm going to try and get through as much of it as possible. However, in the last week, I did that, and my hand is in pain because it's synthetic. So Even though I only crocheted with it for 3 days, it was a lot of crochet in those 3 days. I think I did like 7 or 8 hours each day, and my hand still feels it, and I haven't crocheted in like 2 days. My hand still feels it. If I did crochet, I crocheted with wool, and my hand is just like, what the hell are you doing? So if you would like to hear more, I will probably post the document first on the blog, and then I will upload the audio version to YouTube, so you will be able to find it in both locations. I will link down below in the YouTube show more section, the description area. I will post in there the link to the blog so that you can have the text version if you want. I'm not sure how often I will do these podcast things. It's kind of as I have the information as I do the troubleshooting. So we will move forward from there. And I might intersperse a few random episodes, podcast type episodes of just information about the crochet. I also am thinking I might review a few patterns as well, because I've bought several patterns from Etsy, and I have several books as well from what I think are well-known crochet amigurumi people, because they have books. One of those books I am not a happy person with. So I think I will go ahead and review the book. That is not to say the designer of the crochet pattern is bad. The crochet pattern has been translated from another language into English, and there are blatant examples of them just doing copy and paste in the pattern, and the math doesn't sound right, and the stitches don't come out right. And if you follow the pattern without using any critical thinking skills, you will end up with a very strange looking toy. Just saying. Anyway, thank you for listening. Again, my name is Lancetti. Have a good day. Be sure to get up, stretch your legs, and do all the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. Bye.